So, Bennington kind of sucks now, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, he does. That Alex Steves guy is pretty good.
Yeah, well, Toronto didn't re sign him, so it was kind of a guarantee that he'd be good.
For sure. For sure, for sure.
I know it sounds out of character, but I am honestly trying to think of one of your players I can compliment right now, but.
Oh, dude, don't worry about it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, look, we know all too well that being in last place on January 1st, not such a bad thing.
That was 6 years ago.
And we've been saying it ever since.
Yikes.
Low quality fans for high quality Bruins team. That is a dub. Love beating the Blues. It's a nice little feeling beating the Blues. The Blues are terrible. They are ass. They're cheeks. And I know you're looking at the shot totals and the expected goals and everything, but like, you got largely outplayed. And yes, there were moments that we were, but there's a lot to talk about with this game and something that kind of frustrated me late in the game, but we'll get there. We'll get there. First of all, I want to say, Alex Steves is kind of a baller. Secondly, the interview that I put out with Mike Comito will also be at the back end of this game analysis review, whatever you like to call it, because I want to give as much opportunity for people to see this as possible. So I put it at the end of this video as well. If you've already watched it, great, whatever, fine. But if you haven't, check it out. Let's talk about the Blues a little bit. A little bit. Not too much, because I don't like talking about them. They're 3-3-4 in their last 10, which is not great. Their goaltending has been terrible. Just absolute terrible. Binner has an .878 save percentage and a 3.2 goals allowed average. Hofer isn't much better. Hofer isn't much better with an .882 and a 3.29 goals allowed average. They're 16th on the power play, 26th on the penalty kill, 30th in goals for, and 27th in goals allowed. This team is cheeks. The cheeks. The only thing they're good at is getting to overtime because they have a hell of a lot of loser points. They have 7 loser points, which I guess also points to the fact that they don't win in overtime all that often. I don't even know if they've won in overtime this year. I'd have to go check, but I'm not going to right now. I do want to look at their underlying numbers a little bit because I'm curious if the underlying numbers reflect like, yeah, this team actually sucks, or like the Red Wings we just talked about, where the underlying numbers are kind of saying, hey, this team's actually okay. Are they great? No, but they're kind of okay. I wanted to see if the Blues were similar to that. It turns out, not really. No, not really. Because the 5-on-5 numbers do point towards them being a middling team, back half of middling, but a middling team. But since their goaltending is terrible, and their special teams are ass, that's kind of what you're going to get. Like, if your 5-on-5 is and then you can't score on the power play, or at least you only do it in the mushy middle kind of way, and you let everyone score on their power play against you, and your goaltending is terrible, then yeah, this is what you're going to get. The thing is, look, goaltending isn't everything unless you don't have it, and then it's everything. You can't survive bad goaltending, like truly bad goaltending, and Binnington has been truly bad. This isn't like but the defense in front of him. Yeah, the defense in front of him hasn't been stellar. I'll give him that. He's also been bad, which is just fun for me to point out right now. Obviously, like you're bitter. Yes, I'm bitter. Fuck that guy. Absolutely. They are missing Snuggerud, just an absolute excellent name. Love the name. Toropachenko, Toropachenko, and Nathan Walker. I'm going to say this now, rather than at the end. The Blues did create a lot of scoring chances in this game. And we'll have a different portion of this talk at the end. But they were in this game in every way other than the score. But their defensive effort, I know I just made fun of Binner, but that's because Binner was bad too. But their defensive effort was pathetic. It was gross. Like, that's a team that is not engaged. Like, the offense, again, they're pushing the puck up the ice. They're creating. They're very versatile in the way they attack the other team in the offensive zone, through the neutral zone. Their transition kind of works. But that defensive effort, I don't even know if they don't have the defensive pieces, because it literally was an effort problem. Just blew my mind. I would be shocked if we get the same level of effort. We play them I think we play the Devils next and then the Blues again. So we play them soon. I would love another easy win. The Bruins have not had a lot of easy wins this year. It wasn't easy for Korpisalo, but everyone else. Score got away from them. Excellent. Felt good. Felt good. The Bruins have some lineup changes. Only kind of a little bit, though. Steeves, Elias, Geeky are going to be top line. Middlestat, Zaka, Arvidsson, Janot, Minton, Kostelik, Huznadinov, Corrali, Asimont, Hampus, Peak, Zadorov, Aspero, Lorai, Soderstrom, because Callahan is now out. So the injuries on the back end continue, and Korpisalo is in net. We now have Pasternak, McAvoy, Harris, Blumel, Yoki Haru, and Callahan all out. So every time we lose a guy, we gain a guy. It's just been like that. Once again, end of the video. Check out the interview with the author of Bruins 365. I think it's a good time. Let's talk about this game, shall we? Puck drops! And 6:30 in, there's a lot about the Bruins game I have not enjoyed so far. Zadorov turnover that created a prime scoring chance. Soderstrom allowed a Blues forward to quite literally just skate around him for a 1v1 on Korpisalo. We've had poor puck management. We've had poor play in general, etc. The good news is the Blues are matching every blunder 1-for-1. Neither of these teams look good at all. Both teams have had good scoring opportunities because of how bad the other teams have looked defensively and structurally. But this particular moment, 6:30 in, is a bad line change by the Blues. Aspero, with the puck in our zone, is going to whip it up to Elias on the center of the O-zone blue line, so their blue line. He's going to fumble the puck a little bit, but he does recover. And he's going to push this over to Geeky, who's on the blocker side wall, skating down. Because this is a line change, the forwards are late on the back check. There's no defenseman over on that side, because the defenseman really committed to Elias here when he bumbled the puck. Even if he didn't bumble the puck, though, I got to imagine that defenseman was going to have a hard time being in position for this. Either way, Geeky's going to skate down that left side. Now, there is an option on the opposite side for Steeves flying in. And he has a defenseman right in front of him. But when this defenseman sees that Geeky has a prime real estate right to the net, he starts sprinting over to him, which you could call a mistake because now you're covering no one, right? You've now officially been like, okay, well, now Geeky can shoot, pass, or shoot. You're not helping any goaltender at all. It is a mistake. There is an argument to be made that maybe you'd want to try to put pressure on Geeky, who's been non-stop scoring lately, rather than worry about the career AHLer behind you. You could make that argument. But Geeky makes a great play here and waits till the defender gets just close enough to whip this across to Steeves, who has a wide open net, and it is 1-0. That career AHLer, by the way, is balling right now. Just an absolute baller. 8:35 left of the period. The Bruins have been moving since that first goal. Another shift by the top line where the Blues are pinned in. There is a board battle going on in the glove side corner with Elias, Steeves, Broberg, and Parayko. And the puck gets punched farther down the wall. It doesn't get all the way behind the net, but just a little farther down the wall. Broberg and Parayko both go for that. And so does Steeves. And Steeves does what Janot did a couple of games ago to the Red Wings, where he just barrels into both players, little hip thrust, grabs the puck, punches it back over to Elias, who followed suit a little bit. No hip thrust from him, though. He collects and goes, I have Morgan Geeky, who, by the way, is second in the league in goals scored. Wide open at the net front. That seems like a good idea. So he's going to whip the puck to him. Geeky is going to hammer this high glove, and it is 2-0. And the defense for the Blues looks like ass. They look so bad. Man. I know our numbers also reflect that defensively. Like, our defense looks terrible. We're missing so many guys. I'm not even going to make the excuse. Our defense also, through this game, probably wasn't amazing. But it's fine. They look like ass. This isn't about me, for once. 4:43 left. Janot for hooking. We're going to go to penalty kill. The offensive zone penalties. Dude, you're up by 2. Blatant hooking. Why? You're up by 2 in the offensive zone. There's no reason to do this. That kind of stuff really bothers me. That's a lack of discipline. We, 35 seconds into this penalty kill, Steeves is going to strip Sundqvist off of a back pass. and he's going to get a one-on-one with Binnington from a sharp angle on the blocker side. He tries to get across the crease a little bit and then go back and try to flick it into the net blocker side. Now it gets batted away. It's a great save by Binnington. It's a pretty good chance for Steeves. I thought he did the between the legs for a second. I was going to lose my mind. He did not, but still, awesome work by Steeves. He's been fantastic. We do kill that penalty, and we go to the second period. The second period is where things really get out of hand for the Blues. 1:59 in. Unfortunately, the first thing the Bruins need to do is put the Blues back into the game. You want to lift up their hopes just enough so then you can squish them. And that's what they did. 1:59 in, Bruins put the Blues right back into it. Hampus sends a puck from behind our net up the glove side wall to Jeannot. Jeannot stops skating and watches this puck come to him, which allows Parayko to just blitz through him, collect the puck. He skates around the back of the net. A couple players swipe a stick at him, but he gets to go right around. And this rare coverage mistake by Fraser frickin' Mitten. I hate criticizing Fraser Mitten. Love that kid. But he lags his defensive coverage for Buchnevich. Buchnevich sets up in the blocker side circle. Mitten's just a couple of feet away, but you have to be more ready for that as the center on your line. Doesn't work out that way. Pass goes up to him. Korpisalo has to turn his head to it. He gets beat short side, high short side. You hate to see a goal go short side like that. But again, the motion of tracking the puck behind you to the shooter, it delays you just another half second, and that's all it takes at times. So it's 2-1. And yeah, I get a little nervous, but not that nervous. It's the friggin' Blues. 6:11 in. This is a basic transition. But how much did we need this just to make sure that we weren't going to do something silly, right? Because the Blues have been caving the Bruins in since that first goal for them about 5 minutes ago. So Lohrei crosses into the O-zone on the blocker side wall and does that thing that Peak hasn't learned how to do and shoots it low against a pad because he has two players. He's got someone coming down the slot, who I don't even remember who is, on the right side of the slot. And then he has Arvidsson, still a little ways back, but coming down that glove side wall. He shoots low and hard. Binner actually does a great job with this. As far as rebound control, you want to slam it to an opposite wall. Totally get that. He does that. He slams it with his left pad into the glove side wall. It bounces out into that circle where Arvidsson walks into it and hammers this sniper Rooney and jeez. It's kind of a knuckler too and goes Bardowski. Absolutely gorgeous. It's his 400th point in the NHL. Hell of a milestone, and it's 3-1. And then about, what is this, 7 minutes later, about 7.5 minutes left of the game, Arvidsson, from the defensive zone, sends this puck across the logo, opposite side to Zacha, who's skating along the benches. He's going to collect this. He's going to go into the zone. When I talk about bad defense, I would be having an aneurysm right now if this was a Bruins defensive play, which I know the Bruins defense has had worse plays than that. So I guess I might just be dead. But Zacha skates in, does one little move, just cuts into the middle, starts going towards the high slot. The two defensemen, who I actually wrote down their names because I need to point this out, Fowler and Mayu, are backing up and they're twiddling their little sticks. Like, don't do that. Don't do anything bad. Zacha goes, okay, I guess I'll just shoot. Sure. And I hate to do this back-to-back, but sniper Rooney and jeez. He goes high glove. And Binner misses it. Binner saw this shot and probably should have made this save. It wasn't like a ping and in, which is weird. King of ping, no ping, hate it. But still, it's a great goal. It's Arvidsson's 200th assist, so another milestone for him, which I guess that's such an awkward number. Does that mean he has 201 goals? Is that math? Yeah, we put him at 401, 200 assists. Yeah, 201 goals, 200 assists. Neat. Not many players, I feel like, are that matched up in those two categories. Either way, we're going to move on. 15 seconds left of the period. Neighbors is going to go for interference. We're going to the power play. And I, like many of you, figured, oh, nice, we get to start the third period with a power play up 3 goals. No, we don't, unfortunately. Because as the time expires, the puck is worked to the blocker side. Middlestat is going to shoot from the blocker side circle. It's saved by Binnington. Geekie is going to collect the rebound and quickly shift the puck into the slot where he has Elias Lindholm. Elias doesn't get a lot of it. I don't know if he actually intentionally pushes this over to Steeves, or this was him trying. I don't really know what happened here, but Elias gets a piece. It then continues to push over to Zaka, not Steeves, and Zaka has a wide open net for a 5-1 total at the end of the second period. 0.2 seconds left of the clock when that puck crosses the goal line. You'll love to see it. I also feel deeply uncomfortable with Zaka having 2 goals and neither one of them hit a crossbar or a post. Don't like that. Figure that out. But I do love the goals, obviously. Third period starts, and 10:53 left. The Blues get into our zone. They attempt a shot from the slot. It gets blocked, but takes a great bounce for Holloway, who is on the inside of the blocker circle and has a wide open blocker side net. He hammers this. Korpisalo somehow gets the pad across to make the save. Now, the Blues recover it. Holloway is now behind the net with the puck. Kuznetsov is on the blocker side, and he's trying to close it up. He's about to start chasing Holloway that way. Aspero is on the glove side. Elias, for some very odd reason, decides he's also going to take the Kuznetsov route and go blocker side. What that allows is Holloway to, if I can get this past Aspero, I have Suter just sitting in the middle of the slot, wide open, uncovered, because Elias just wanted to be part of the action. For a defensive-minded forward, not great. Elias did have a very good game in this, a couple assists. There's so many stretches of time where I sit there and go, I don't even notice the guy. But obviously a 3-point night is great. I don't want to be too critical there. He's just been really bugging me the last couple of games, and I'm having trouble letting go of that. This was not his best moment on a really good night. Let's not be unfair here. So it's 5-2 because Suter just gets a wide open chance and just puts it high on Korpisalo, who's scrambling after he made such a great save. Not fair at all, but it is what it is. 9:36 left. Buchnevich is going to go for cross-checking. We're going to go power play. It's not a good power play. And then with 1:44 left, Elias goes for high sticking. We're going to kill that off, and that's the end of the game. We were outshot 14-5 in the third period. We were outshot 15-8 in the second period. We outshot them 14-10 in the first period. So the game notes are just a couple of things. I'm a little frustrated. This is a great win. I don't want to take anything away from that. The Blues are a bad team. They're not a good team. And I know our numbers also reflect a team that's really not that great. And that's okay. That's okay. That's not my criticism. When they got out to that big lead, really the 4-1 lead, it felt like a shell. It felt like they were, okay, we got to protect this, which is not how you win hockey games. It's really not. I am fine with a strategy that is defense first. That's how we play the game in Boston. For the last couple of decades, it's defense first. I'm fine with that. We make decisions based off of what is safest for us, especially when we have a lead. You protect the lead. Totally fine with that. Completely canceling your forecheck for basically a whole period, just sitting back in the zone as often as possible, not attacking through the neutral zone very often, and maybe this wasn't intentional. I don't know what the cause here really was, but it seemed to me that they literally were like, okay, back up, and that's it. That's how you lose a lead, because you give enough time to any team in the offensive zone, they're going to eventually get a puck in the net, and it's going to build that way. I really didn't like the last period from this team. It was very frustrating, and I am worried that it speaks to a different strategy that I would prefer in games like this. That is such a nitpicky thing right now. We should just be elated about this game. We should just be elated, and that's it. So I don't want to go too hard in that. It's just something that bothers me, and on this channel, we're honest, and we talk about things that bother us. I also want to talk about Korpisalo, who was great tonight. He was fantastic. And I know this isn't what he wants, because he complained about not having enough starts last year. Dude, play better. Right? This was an excellent game for him. If he's the kind of guy who can come in every third or fourth game and put up a really good performance like this, and Swayman can have 2 or 3 games in a row like the ones he had before last game, that's a great, great recipe for this team. Korpisalo's had some highs, but a lot of lows this season. Finding him a rhythm that works for him and finding Swayman a rhythm that works for him would be massive. Because if you can roll out goaltenders every other night who are really high level, it changes the landscape of this team because we're trying to build from the net out and our defensive structure just isn't where it needs to be right now. So that is what it is. So Korpisalo might not love it, and this might not even be true where he can do this every third or fourth game. Obviously not this. 950 save percentage, 2 goals on 40 shots. Like, that's not my expectation. But the 870s, the 880 nights, can't have a lot of those. Because the Bruins can't win with those. They really can't. The only other game note, when Pasta returns, it does look like we have an unfortunate decision to make. Like, the defensive end is so easy right now. Like, get McAvoy back. Get Yoki Haru back. Get Harris back. I was really happy with what Harris was doing before he got hurt. Kuzi and Steeves. Kuznetsov was awesome when he was working with Pasta, retrieving pucks for him and being part of that line. I really liked what he was doing. I understood why they sent him farther down the lineup. When you don't have a Pasta to feed the puck to and do puck retrievals for, I can see the logic there. Steeves does everything that this team wants. He kills penalties. He has a decent IQ in the offensive zone. He moves the puck. He makes simple plays. His forechecking is strong. He's super physical along the boards. He's defensively physical. He's doing everything you've asked. Kuznetsov has been a great find. And when he's on, he's clever with his puck movements. He's a good skater. He's kind of a ratty guy on the walls. Great. Steeves better matches the package of what the Bruins want to be than Kuznetsov. And some of that comes from size and physicality, and that's not fair, but that is the reality of the situation. When Pasta comes back, I think the most likely outcome here is Kuznetsov gets moved out of the lineup. There are players I think I would look at before Kuznetsov, such as Elias, which is unfair after this game, and obviously that's not going to happen ever. But I do genuinely think they don't want to remove anyone from that third line. That third line keeps creating. They just can't finish anything. They want that second line to return to what Sturm thought it was previously, which when Sturm was talking about that being a matchup line, cool. Not sure I totally agree, but cool. And obviously the geeky Elias Pasta line he wants so badly to work. I don't think that line works, and we'll find out. But we've seen little bits where it was okay. We've seen little bits where it was really good. We've seen little bits where it was terrible. But one thing that's been very consistent with that line, they give up way more chances than they create. They just outscore their opponents based on pure shooting ability. I don't super love that top line. All that to say, when Pasta comes back, Steve's on the fourth line, Kuznetsov gets moved out. That's my guess. That's my early guess. We'll see what happens. All right, check out this interview with Mike, but I am going to say it before I go. Go Bees. Go Bees! All right, as promised, I'm joined by Mike Comito, author of Bruins 365. Dude, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I was really impressed. You contacted me. You wanted to chat about this book. This is your 5th book now?
It is, yeah.
So you have the 2 that are just Hockey 365. You did a 2-parter for that. You did the Habs.
Yeah.
You did the Leafs.
And now we're doing the Bruins.
Now we're doing the Bruins. Did you? I didn't see the dates. Did you go Habs first or Leafs first?
No, I did Leafs first. So Leafs was the first team-specific book. That one was 2023. Mm-hmm. Last year was Habs, and then here we are, 2025 with Black and Gold.
You are cranking them out then. Are you gonna do do one of these for every team?
I mean, I'd have a pretty good retirement plan if I did that. I'd be busy for the next 29 years or so, probably more than that if Bettman has his way. But I think maybe eventually getting through the original 6, that's a good goal. We'll see where it goes from there. I don't have any plans for a book next year though, so we are taking a brief break. We're not done with the series. Certainly, as you said, there's a lot of teams to go, but we're locked in with these 3 to start. I think it's the most appropriate 3 to do if we're going to do the original 6.
Oh, flattery will get you everywhere. Absolutely. Now, I read the book. You sent me a digital copy, and I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Thank you.
There's a lot of tongue in cheek in there. It's just kind of a fun vibe to it. It blew my mind how many things I sat there and went, I don't even know that name. I like it goes beyond fun facts. But for those watching that don't know, can you kind of describe what this series is about and what you kind of built here?
Yeah, so it's 365 short hockey history stories, one for every day of the year. In the case of Bruins 365, we're obviously talking about 365 stories about the bees. And I should say that it's actually 366 because every book always has January or February 29th for leap years. So there's actually a bonus story in every book. But it was kind of the offshoot of, I've been sharing hockey history tidbits on Twitter now for probably far too long. And I've been doing that every day, for far too long. And then got the idea that, probably back in 2017, that maybe there's a book idea here, kind of taking some of the writing I had been doing, taking the social media I'd been sharing and putting that into a book format. And that's how we started with the two first ones that were just really focused on general hockey history. And then we got team specific. And so uh, it's, as you get into the team specific books, it gets a little more challenging, I think, to try to find something for every day of the year, especially when you get to the dog days of summer. So I think that's probably why you see some of these names that you might not have even remembered, because I'm, not, I don't want to say that I'm scraping, to find facts, but oftentimes you're pulling in players that may not have played a huge role with the team, but they were traded on that day in late August, or they were part of a transaction in mid-July, and therefore they get their own story, or they had a birthday that happened to be the only available stat that I could find that day, and so
Sure.
they get a
Yeah.
full shout out.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I jumped to my birth date right away. I was like, I just want to know, because what happened in August that like
Yeah.
could he possibly write about? Guy Lapointe, didn't know he was as much of a prankster as he was.
Yeah.
I won't spoil the story, but that was a good one. I really enjoyed that. I was really curious in the beginning because you read through just kind of you kind of explain your background. And so your mother is a Leafs fan.
Yeah.
Your father was a Bruins fan.
Yeah.
And you made a horrible mistake.
I did.
Terrible
I feel like
mistake.
I feel like I didn't have a choice in it. I was just it just happened. Although I've got all these old photos, or my mom has these old photos where my godfather was a big Habs fan. So there's a photo of me around Christmas time in like Montreal Canadiens pajamas. I did have a Bruins sweater when I was a kid. So I guess there could have been a chance for me to get off the off ramp, so to speak, and find something a little bit less heartbreaking.
Mhm.
But I didn't get off that ramp, and here I am. But again, I think with some of those elements in my life, I make a case in the introduction that there could have been an alternate universe in which I am a Bruins fan, because there are a lot of things in my life that would and should point to me maybe cheering for Boston instead of cheering for Toronto all these years.
Yeah, I gotta say, reading through it and just knowing that you're a Leafs fan, I think it's important, honestly, to know where your allegiances lie. Because, and I do want to stress this: this was not just your run of the mill, like every story is about one of the franchise's most popular guys or something historic. There are really great nuggets in there where you just go, I never would have known this ever. Was there a point while you were researching this, because you researched for about a year for
Yep.
this book? Was there ever a point where you truly were like, I should have just been a Bruins fan? God damn it! Like this is
Well, I mean, I spent most of the last year with the Bruins, so to speak, right? Like every night I was either researching or writing about the Bruins, often not watching my team play, and sitting in my office and writing about this. And then obviously when the book comes out, the Bruins have had a bit of a high wire season to start, and you kind of look at what they're doing, you're like, this is a good time to release a Bruins book. It is unfortunate that I've been watching the team very closely, because I think it helps, obviously, if I know what's going on when I'm trying to pump out a Bruins book. But there were certainly moments when I think, even as a Leafs fan, you just think of the history, and you're going through all these players, and you go through some of these players who, after you even get through the big names that I think are household names for a lot of people, just understanding what these guys meant to the franchise and what they did and what they were able to accomplish. Like, it's hard not to just think, like, especially in my case, like, I wish we had some guys like this, or I wish this was a guy that I would have loved on our team. And, so it's hard not to think of that as you're going through it. But ultimately, As anybody who's been kind of steeped in their own franchise for as long as they have, whether they were born into it or they chose it at an early age, you can't really give it up. It's every year you might think that you should and you want to, but you get drawn back. But this was pretty close. I would say that when I did the Canadians book last year, you still have that same respect and reverence for the franchise. But I will say that I wasn't pulled in the same way that I was maybe pulled in with the Bruins. And maybe that's just because of the longer standing Canadian rivalry between the two teams.
Sure.
But there was more of an allure for me with this, where again, I know that it's not going to happen, but that it's probably the most feasible one for me to imagine jumping ship to.
Yeah, that seems fair to me. Now, I gotta ask, because there's so much research with this book. It's pretty nuts. Is there a player going through the entire history of the Bruins? Because there's dates in this that you pull from the 1920s, like you go way back. Is there a player that really stood out to you that you think the fan base doesn't talk about enough? Like Eddie Shore is that guy for me, where I go, yeah, he's obviously in the rafters. He's a franchise icon, but we're 100 years since. And I think a lot of people kind of, that name doesn't come up frequently. And I just feel like more Bruins fans could go back and look at him and go, wow, what a career this guy had. Is there a player that you kind of sit there and go, I wish more people knew about this guy truly? And I mean, even for the Leafs or the Habs books as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair point because, there's even a few guys in this book where like I didn't know who they were, going into the book series. Like I had one story that we had picked for February 22nd, 1934. So again, going back far in time. And that's when the Bruins retired Lionel Hitchman's number 3, which was the first jersey they ever retired. But because Hitch played in the 20s and 30s, not a lot of people know who he was, even though if they go to TD Garden, you'd see his jersey hanging in the rafters. And the only reason I knew about him was because the editor of my book had edited a book by the granddaughter of Hitch, who's been trying to make a case for him to maybe get some better recognition by the Hockey Hall of Fame. And I think more broadly, in Bruins land and in the hockey history world. And so I thought, okay, I'll look into this. Like, obviously there's a reason why they retired his number. He was the partner to Eddie Shore. So he was the reason why Eddie Shore was able to really be Eddie Shore, because Hitch was the steady stay-at-home defenseman that allowed Eddie Shore to run and gun and do all the things that Eddie Shore did. But it was the other pieces that I learned about in my research on Hitch. And again, Patricia, her name is escaping me right now, but she wrote a great book about Lionel Hitchman. And what I learned about kind of perusing her book and some other resources I came across was that this guy was an accomplished piano player. He set fly fishing records. He wrote poetry. He kept a pet bear, which ultimately I wish I had more time and space in the book to really unpack that, because I don't think I don't drop the bear's name. Don't get in any details of how did he keep the bear, where did the bear live, all those other sorts of stories, which I think should have been probably its own story about Hitch's pet bear. But it's things like that where, again, Hitch has probably been lost to history for a lot of the fans who, didn't grow up in that generation and maybe didn't get those stories passed down to them. And so I think, as much as like I'm not as immersed in, I think, in the history of the Bruins as others, I think if I'm not familiar with a player like that, even diehard Bruins fans, who maybe come to their allegiance with the team, more recently, or even just in my lifetime, Hitch maybe not be a name that looms large for you. But it's those kinds of stories and those kinds of players that obviously make the Bruins have such a rich history.
Oh yeah, and I mean this is kind of off topic, but the bear really resonates with you because that's what you do, right? You're a bearologist.
Yeah, and that's where the whole Bruins thing. And again, I did a PhD on the history of black bear hunting and management in Ontario. So I spent 5 years of my life just reading about bear hunting, like day in, day out. I was interested in environmental history,
crazy.
Bear hunting. Everyone was buying me bear shirts. I had my own collection of bear shirts. I had bear ties, I had Bruins shirts, I had Bruins hats, I had everything, just because if it had a bear on it, we had to get it from Mike. He's the bear guy. And my wife, she's my wife now. Then my girlfriend drew the line, and I think my parents bought a bear toilet seat, and she's like, that is not coming in the house. And so that was the only thing that never made it past the threshold. But otherwise, that's the other thing where, again, at that point when I was going through my doctoral work, that would have been, I think, probably the most opportune time to really jump over. That's when before the Leafs were back in the playoffs. So again, I probably could have been forgiven right around 2011, 2012, obviously, especially around 2013 to really get out of there at that time.
Yeah, for sure. That was a fun little bit too, and that's what I mean. Like a lot of it, there is some tongue in cheek. This little fun facts in there that about your own connection to it. It's a book that really resonates as personal, right? It has a lot of those elements to it, which I like. It's also I've mentioned this earlier, but I think it's a great reread. I read through it and I sat there and I kind of just want to have it by my bedside, so every morning I can wake up and read whatever that day's thing is, because there's no way it's all going to stick. Like
Yeah.
366, like the fact that you're naming dates and talking about the stories, you really have spent a lot of time with this thing, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, because even after you go through the research and the writing process, like you've got to live with it for months later when it comes back for you're editing it and then you're proofing it. The proofing it, like you end up reading it 3, 4 times. I remember a couple years ago, whenever I, post a list of books you'd read on Goodreads, and a colleague said, I don't know if you should be posting your own book as something you read. And I said, you know what? I've had to read this book like 8 times. It's counting as one of the books I read in 2025. I don't care. I had to read that line by line, word for word, many, many times just to make sure it was as good as it was going to be in my mind. So, yeah, I think definitely you'll catch different things. I think every time around, because I think every story is packed with different stats, and I mean some stats aren't necessarily significant, but I tried to pack as much detail as I can. Each story is only 175 words, so again, we don't have a ton of real estate to play with, but
Sure.
I try to really kind of pile in as much history as we can.
Yeah, I also appreciate a very brief mention of the 2015 draft, and then you kept it moving. Really
Yeah.
didn't need to live that over
No.
again, so that was nice of you. Do you have a favorite story that you kind of learned of it? I don't want to step on the book. I don't want to reveal a bunch of stuff. The Bobby Orr story with Mike Walton is absurd to me. That one
Mhm.
really got me with the stitches and the glass and all of that. Is there a favorite part that you wrote that you keep going back to, going, this is just nuts?
Yeah, I mean the Mike Walton story is definitely up there as well, because that was one that I had not flagged going into the book. I think when I found the stat for that, it was that Mike Walton returned, from being injured, and I think that was the night that he might have scored a hat trick. He'd scored a goal in his return, but then in the research, I uncovered like this whole horrific story about a prank gone awry and him nearly dying potentially. Again, your agent's always going to exaggerate how severe the injury was, but there was obviously some concern for his well being. Yeah, that's definitely one. I mean, another one that I just kind of that I always gravitate to is with Dean Prentice, who is another player who is not necessarily probably has as much name power as maybe like some of the players we talked about earlier. So this story is back in '64. So again, it's we're seeing now talking, and that's 60 plus years ago now at this point. And
that hurts every time I think about the fact.
So this story with Dean Prentice, and he was obviously a tough guy, as I'll describe, and he gets hauled down. He goes to the boards. It looks like he's going to be awarded a penalty shot. He gets up and he realizes he's not in the right, like he's not in good shape. Probably should be leaving the game at that point, but he's awarded the penalty shot. So he takes this penalty shot. He scores. After the game, he goes to the hospital, and it turns out like he had basically broken his neck on this injury. So he had essentially scored on a penalty shot with a broken back, because he had broken, I think, several vertebrae or something very significant that he definitely should not have been playing. He should have been stretchered off the ice and taken to hospital immediately. So he's laid up. He misses the rest of the season because he obviously has a broken back.
Sure.
And then he returns to the NHL the following year. But the best part about this story is that this is still the era where a lot of players, even some of the bigger name players, still held down summer jobs. Obviously, they weren't being compensated the same way that they are now, and many of them, took employment up in the summer just to kind of add to their income. And what Dean Prentice did that summer after recovering from his broken back was hauling kegs in a beer warehouse. Which again, I love reading those details, because it's just, you hate to be like they don't make them like they used to, but you can't look at a story like taking a penalty shot with a broken back and then just doing hard manual labor all summer, carrying kegs of beer, and then going back and playing hockey the next year. So I just love that story about Dean Prentice. Just really kind of probably should have left the game, but again, we appreciate that kind of heart.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And this is what I mean by it's a great reread because I was like, which one was Dean's? And you said Broken Back. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Because there's so much in there. And I think it's cool too, because like you think about, I mean, even the modern player, DeBrusque, not too long ago at Fenway, broken leg, scores 2
Mhm.
goals. Like you said, like, how is that even possible, man?
Yeah,
They're still warriors, but yeah, there's some stories back then where you go. I mean, even the Mike Walton, he's back after a month.
yeah,
Supposedly 200 stitches, and he's back after a month. That
yeah,
seems kind of quick.
yeah, yeah.
Good stuff. I also wanted to bring up. You're from Sudbury, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a big Shoresy fan.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Do you watch it?
I do, and I was attempted to be an extra in one of the episodes.
Nice.
So I think this was early in season 2. Half my staff, we took the day off from work and we went down to the Sudbury Arena and we were extras, and so we got to see how the sausage was made. It was not glamorous at all. I isolated a shot of myself where you could see me in the stands near the glass, but the stanchion of the glass that is right down the middle of my face. And so like if you didn't know it was me, it was like the whole day was wasted. But I
Yeah.
love that show. I love that they treat Sudbury as Sudbury. It's actually Sudbury in the show.
They represent it
Um,
well, huh?
they do, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, other than Sud Vegas, nobody says that. Um,
Yeah.
but it's I appreciate that they're trying. So
Yeah, I had to mention it. The famous
yeah,
home of the Sudbury Blueberry Bulldogs. You know,
yeah.
that's good stuff. Well, I wanted to keep this relatively quick, just kind of chat with you about it. But is there anything that you want people to know about this book more that just about the work that you've put in, or anything with the vibe of it all?
No, I mean, I think it's just the one thing I just and you kind of touched on it is just like I tried to make sure that as much as I am a Leafs fan, like I tried not to bring any Leafs baggage. I think you'll see a few stories in which my anguish is laid out bare on the page, but I think as Bruins fans, I think that's okay. You'll appreciate that because we know how those stories end, so it's not me gloating in any respect. But I think just it's got pretty much something for everyone. I think it does span the franchise's history from 1924 up until I included some stories from even last year just to try to make it as recent as possible. But I'm hoping it's written in a way that's fun, it's accessible. There's a lot of facts, a lot of research went into it, but it's written in a way that I hope that even young kids that are interested in hockey maybe are not that big into reading, but really want to know more about the game's history, want to know more about the Bruins. There's for every young fan, diehard fan, fans who can remember Dean Prentice. Hopefully all that's represented in there because it was a lot of fun, a lot of work that goes into it, but truly a lot of fun to put these together and have people read through them.
Yeah, well, I think you achieved it, man. It's a really fun
Thank you.
read. Where can people find it?
So you can find it wherever you like to buy books. It's on Amazon. It's at Barnes and Nobles, Indigo in Canada. And again, if you go to your favorite independent bookstore, if they don't have it, you can get them to order it in for you, and you can always do it that way to support local bookshops.
Awesome. And we'll link it below in this video, of course. But hey, Mike, really thank you for joining me on this. This was a lot. It was a lot of fun to read. I was glad to chat with you after the fact because, I mean, the amount of research that you put in is so very obvious, and the amount of fun facts in there that you either never would have known or it brings back some memories that you go, oh yeah, that's actually a really undervalued day in this
Mm.
franchise's history because you can kind of track a lot of things. You have things like signing Carlo, for instance. That's in
Yeah,
there. And you sit there and you read through that and you go, that's right. And now that's led to blah 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 blah
yeah,
throughout, including an excellent trade by the Bruins recently.
yes, yeah. We
And
don't have to
before,
litigate that right now.
yeah, sorry. And before I let you go, because I gotta ask, what are you thinking about the Leaf season right now? It's a tough start, but where do you think it ends up?
Oh man, it's I remember going into the season talking myself into it over the summer that this is for the best. It's good for the player to get a fresh start in Marner. The team can kind of leave this all behind. There's obviously going to be some growing pains because you're not going to replace like a 114-point player. And then all of the concerns I have, or none of the concerns that I'm seeing right now. There's even more concerns that I hadn't even considered over the summertime. Again, just they have no identity. I don't think they know who they are. They're slow. They don't move very well. Everybody's injured, which is not that was an excuse for a little while, but it doesn't mask the fact that these problems were there before everybody got hurt. So, I mean, I don't think I thought at this point, American Thanksgiving, that like the Leafs would be in the cellar of the Eastern Conference. That was definitely not in my mind. And again, I think maybe in the far recesses of my mind in the summer, I thought, maybe they don't make the playoffs this year. And suddenly, like, I'm a little bit concerned. Again, I
Fair.
don't think that this is. I I'd like to think that this is a bit of an aberration and they're going to get through it, but history suggests that at this time of the year, like it's tough sledding to get out of it. We've obviously seen recent examples where that's not true, but I do have a lot of concerns. So it's a long season, but I'm not. I don't want to say I'm ringing all the alarm bells right now, but I'm definitely at least ringing one of them.
Fair, very fair. For what it's worth, I do think you guys turn it around. And with the East being separated by like 6 points right now,
Yeah,
there are worse years to start as poorly as it
yeah.
has.
Well, that is the thing, right? I think when I'd last looked at it before they dropped to the bottom of the standings, like there was a matter of like 4 or 5 points separating seventh and first in the Atlantic, right?
Yeah.
So there is a lot of. I think there's going to be a lot of separation after this point in the season, after we get to the quarter point, and then throughout. But again, it's just not a spot you want to be in as a team. But again, I think to your point, anything can happen. It's a crazy start to the East in the Metropolitan as well, but certainly the Atlantic is, I don't think, how anybody thought it would be at this point.
Yeah, I'd agree with that big time. Well, Mike, thanks for joining me, man. Thanks for sharing your work with us. It's a really impressive book. I do urge people to check it out. I don't think you're going to be disappointed with it. Again, linked below.
Thank you.
But Mike, thanks for joining.
No, my pleasure. Honestly, thanks for having me. Great chat.
Absolutely. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video and joining me as we experience this crazy Bruins season together. The names popping up on your screen now are from the top line tier and the all-star tier of the YouTube membership program for this YouTube channel. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you who help support the channel so that we can do more fun things, and I am always open to more ideas of how I can help give back to those who support the channel. At the end of the day, this channel is always going to be about the community, and I want to continue to grow that way, so please always feel free to reach out with new ideas and fun ways we can expand on this, or if you just need someone to talk to, I'm always here for you guys. Thank you all for your support, and as always, go Bees!